Hello everyone, my name is Java Joe, and today I'll be talking about the basics of coding in Java. So, I've I've opened my file, and now I will make the the class for this episode. So, um, as you can see, I here have the keyword public and then class because it's a class. And public just means that it can interact with other classes, unlike private, which means it can't be seen by other classes. And now I am making the main method, which uses the keyword public static void. Void means it doesn't return anything. Static means it doesn't change, and public again, it can interact with other methods. And now the main method is special compared to other classes because no matter where it will, the Java code will always skip to run the main method first, no matter if it's at the bottom of a bunch of code or at the very top. So let's choose something basic. And so what this code line does, it will just print a new line of hello world. And then after the line, after what was printed, it will initiate a new line for the next whatever you put in to be written. So for example, if I print um, hello, it will then just print that. But because it doesn't have ln at the end, like this first method, like the first line does, it won't initiate a new line for whatever comes after it. So, um, if I then type in something here, instead of like with the print ln up here, it will instead print right after this because this doesn't initiate a new line after running. So it's just hello world twice. But if I add ln to the end, it will instead print that, which is very different. And so I personally usually use println because it's just a bit easier to use. That way I can see every different line that gets printed and it doesn't accidentally print onto some, and then the next thing that I print doesn't print onto the line of the last thing I printed. But the system that println can do multiple different things. For example, you can input different, you could um, instead of having having to actually type in words, you can print out variables like hello, just an example of one, and then it will print out what this variable here holds. You can also, instead of printing out variables, you can have it do some math inside of the brackets, but you don't put it inside the quotation marks, because else everything inside the quotation marks doesn't get touched. 9 equals 81. And then if you put something outside of it, inside a few spaces there, it will then actually do the math for you. Like that. Like that. Yep. Wait, what? Oh, well, that's supposed to be not 18. Math is hard. But yeah, so if you put it in quotation marks, it will print out exactly what you put inside of it for the math, but if you put it outside, it won't. And as you can see, I put this plus sign here so that it can differentiate between something in quotation marks and something outside of it. And that way it can seamlessly go between stuff inside and stuff outside of quotation marks. So yeah. What else is there? Well, yeah, I think that's all for today. System that out.println is very useful. Oh, and there's also multiple different variables like double. There you can hold in different uh no, whoops, one button. You can hold like you can hold decimal points in there, and if you use int, it instead holds um like whole numbers, like 32, and then there's also booleans, which are a bit weird, named, but it's boolean is like a true or a false statement, so you can print that. So yeah, boolean looking at that F. That it doesn't get annoyed at me, but yeah. So there's doubles, there's ints, there's booleans, there's strings, and then there's many more variables that you can use. But I personally use strings, doubles, and ints on a regular basis. And Boolean is something that I don't always use because it's very easy to replace a Boolean. Because if, like, say you wanted to test, if you want to know whether something's true or false, you could have 0 be false and 1 be true. And then you can just simply go between the two and just use integers instead of Boolean. But yeah, that's all for today.